All right. I think on YouTube, there's a short delay for a couple
All right.
seconds, but we should
Hello,
be live.
everyone. We're live.
Hello.
Hello. Happy Friday. Hi,
Happy
everyone.
Friday.
Everyone who's joining us virtually.
All
Uh,
right. We got a couple people hanging out with us. All right, it's on. Okay, let's get into it.
all right.
My guest today is best known for his recent work, I guess, in productivity coaching. He's a former Wall Street guy, turned newsletter writer, turned blogger, turned course creator, turned home bartender. His newsletter and blog is called RadReads, and he is known for many things like productivity, personal finance, and the meaning of life.
Mm.
He has a successful course called Supercharge Your Productivity. And I think he has said about his own site, come for the productivity, stay for the existential crisis. Please
Mm.
welcome my friend Khe Hy.
Hello. Thank you. Thank you for such a lovely introduction. And I'm thrilled to be here, especially on a Friday. I get my unicorn shirt. I'm ready to go.
It's a great shirt. Where did you get it?
It's part of my daughter is in YMCA Adventure Guides, and the dads, not me, the organizing dads take it very seriously, and so they make shirts, sweatshirts, and beanies for every cohort. And so we have all of these like unicorn shirts and the matching daughter ones. So
That's so
it's pretty rad.
sweet. That is
It's
rad.
my Friday shirt. Like I usually like when I'm feeling chipper, we're like gonna have a drink on air. Then it's
Yeah.
like it's time for that. It's time for the Friday shirt.
Oh, that's awesome. All right. Should we kick it off with some cocktails?
Yeah, let's do
All
it. You
right.
got your ingredients?
I got my ingredients. I have not mixed them, and I don't
Okay.
have sparkling water.
Oh yeah. So the sparkling water is not necessary. So let me
Okay.
just I'll give like 2 seconds of
Yeah.
background. So I used to drink a lot, and I don't drink that much, mostly because a parent and I'm 40, 42. So I can't really handle alcohol anymore. And I have some health constraints where I need to be careful about my blood sugar and things like that, blood glucose. But the good news is that tequila seems to bypass all of these issues
Hmm.
where I can drink tequila and not feel hungover. I mean, obviously, quantity matters. It doesn't spike. It doesn't have any glucose, and I'm not like counting the calories, but it doesn't. It's very low calorie for alcohol, and so it's a very clean and so tasty drink, which is why it's become my drink of choice. All right, so you
Nice.
got your ingredients.
I do, yeah. I
Okay,
didn't
so
mix all of them yet. I didn't
I
pour the
haven't, so I need to
tequila.
squeeze the lime.
Okay.
So normally what I do is I'll do 3 limes. It depends on like your proclivity for how much tanginess you can stomach. So I don't want to get lime juice all over, but I'm going to just do 1 lime just to respect the fact that it's 12:15. But I will normally do 3 limes and then about like 2 to 3 shots of tequila.
Uh-huh.
So I'll do like a shot of tequila today. And then in the recipe, I used to use Cointreau, like a little splash of Cointreau, but I've actually like mixed it up a bit. So tequila.
All right.
And I've mixed it up with what we call Jeopardy, which is a grapefruit liqueur. So it gives it a little bit of grapefruit zest, just like a tiny splash of it. That was too much, actually. And then a little dash of agave, which gives it that sweet taste, but is less sugary and less syrupy. So this will have a little bit of Cointreau, exactly. I don't have any ice, so this will be quite I guess neat-ish. And then the sparkling water is more, there's 3 ingredients. There's lime juice, tequila, and sparkling water, like of quantity, of volume. So if you like it tangy, then you could put more lime juice and less tequila. If you don't want to put too much tequila, you're gonna have to put more lime juice or more soda water. So it's basically a function of your proclivity for tequila and tanginess, and then you kind of adjust the ratio accordingly.
Okay. And you don't put the sparkling water in the shaker, right?
No, you just top it off at the end, like almost to like water it down.
All right. I don't have ice in my shaker.
I know I don't have ice in my, but cheers.
All
And I'll
right.
wait for you to pour it.
Yeah. All right. I'm so excited.
This is like one of these moments when I'm like, is this my job? Like, can you imagine like my kid is like, Daddy's got to go to work and brings 4 bottles of liquor into his office at noon on a Friday, shuts the door, and is like, I'll be back in an hour.
That's
All right.
amazing. All right.
You got it?
I got it. Cheers.
What are you choosing to?
To your course launching this week.
Oh,
It started this week, right? The next cohort.
That's too me centric. Let's cheers to our budding friendship and many, many ways in which we'll get to meet each other and collaborate further.
I love that. Yeah, to our friendship.
Yes, cheers.
All right.
And to all our viewers.
Yeah.
I do YouTube so rarely that I don't even know what to call someone who's watching us. Viewers, audience, subscribers, viewers. There you go. Yeah. That shows how much I know about YouTube.
This is really good.
Oh, I needed this. Mine was quite stiff on the tequila.
This is really good.
All right.
So I suck at making margaritas at home. Like I love margaritas, and it's I think the only cocktail that I would much rather buy than make myself because I'm not that good at it.
But I just showed you saw how simple it is, right? I think you'll with time you'll find like your ratio.
Mm-hmm.
But it's super simple to make. And then pressing limes is a very like very calming meditative exercise.
Yeah. I didn't know that tequila that didn't have sugar and stuff.
It does have the sugar.
Or it's very
a
low.
Different kind, and I don't know. It's like the difference between clear liquors and dark liquors and white wine. And it's not sugar free, but it's much lower relative to other alcohols.
Okay, and vodka is 2, right?
Vodka is 2 for some. I don't know the size.
I don't love vodka though.
Yeah.
I'm more of a tequila person.
Exactly. Okay. I mean, we live in California.
I have Cazadores tequila. Is that okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
My go-to is Casamigos. It's quite pricey.
Get that.
But it's damn good. Casamigos Blanco is really good tequila.
Okay, I'm putting that on my list for next time.
So it's about like one of these bottles is like $46 in California. So it's not the $20 tequila.
Huh. Do you ever sip on warm tequila?
I do. It's not like you need like really good tequila for that to be an enjoyable experience. And I don't love it. I don't love the taste of tequila by itself. Actually, if anything, the taste of the limes is my favorite. Like the dominant taste of the limes is what gets me the most excited.
Yeah, it is delicious. All right, we should talk about some stuff.
Yeah, should we? Or should we just drink?
We should just drink and chill. I mean, it is Friday.
It is Friday.
This is the real 10K work, right?
Exactly. Spreading the recipe far and wide on the internet is the ultimate 10K work. But I will actually, this is a good segue, right? I know we're already going off piste, so rein me in if you want.
I love it.
But one of the questions that I ask myself is, why do I feel the urge to drink so much? Mm-hmm. And I don't drink that much, like compared to, I don't know, an average American or something like that. But why do I feel like I definitely have a craving to drink, just like we have cravings for sugar or have cravings for, video games or whatever. Mm-hmm. And what I've realized actually through teaching the course is that I set unreasonable expectations for myself. Mm-hmm. So every day I say to myself, like, I'm going to get these 9 things done or 7 things done. And if I'm really lucky, I get 3.
Are these all work things?
Work things, yeah.
Uh-huh.
And on average, I'll get like 2, like kind of the 10K tasks. And then I'm like frustrated with myself. And to kind of ease that frustration, it's like having a drink makes that frustration temporarily go away. And so it's really, and that's kind of like right, come for the productivity. I just connected task management and, unreasonable expectations that we set for ourselves, right? That's
Yeah.
like classic, come for the productivity, stay for the existential. If I could cure the unreasonable expectations, right? Like Luisa in Encanto, right? Then there's this like quiet or not so quiet, depending how you measure quietness, thing that kind of is always with me. And so that's very much like a lot of why I love productivity so much, is that it's actually just the opening to talk about much deeper questions.
Yeah.
And everyone wants to talk about productivity, and everyone wants to talk about money, and everyone wants to talk about career change. But no one actually wants to ask the question, well, why do you want money? Right? Like there's obviously like the surface level, like, shelter, food, caring for loved ones. But then take something simple like Maslow's hierarchy, right? You kind of move up in autonomy, and then you move up to like, enlightenment and purpose and so on, or they don't call it enlightenment, but, like top of the pyramid, totally disconnected from money, right? But money got you into that conversation. So that's the vibe we like to bring.
I love this. So we are totally going off our agenda, and I love it. Let's stay here.
Or rein me back in.
So about money, though. So something that I think, and I've never really even bothered fleshing this out into a blog post, which I should, is I think everyone, and I think this can apply to everyone, regardless of how maybe rich you are or how not rich you are. I think everyone needs to develop a healthier relationship with money, whatever that means to you. Like, so something I did early on in my career, I was like in my mid-20s. I arranged to quit my job in journalism so that I could focus on the culinary world and try to become a food writer. So like I saved up, X amount of money to, I think I saved up, I should just say how much it was. I think I figured out how to live on, I think something around like $1,300 or $1,500 per month at the time, because that covered my rent and like my basic food, and I didn't do any like fun shopping. And then I think from there I determined I needed to save at least like $10,000 or $12,000 to like be able to sustain myself for 8 or so months. Whatever, it's probably bad math. I don't do public math. But
especially after margaritas.
Exactly. So I did this, right? And then like, figured out my path. And in hindsight, now when I talk about this now, people are like, "Oh, you must have saved up so much money to be able to do that." Like it takes a lot of privilege. I agree that there is absolutely privilege involved, but at the same time, I think what I realized was that once I figured out my goal, and the goal was to become a food writer or pivot into food something, nothing else mattered.
Yeah.
Right. Like I didn't care about shopping. I didn't care about like the shoes that I couldn't buy anymore because it didn't matter. It was like, well, for the next 8 months, I'm doing this thing.
Yeah.
So it might sound kind of ridiculous to someone that I lived on like something around $1,000 per month, but was like completely happy doing it.
Yeah.
I had all my basic needs covered. I had food, shelter. Like I still had like a small budget to go out a little bit. So maybe we could talk about that for a second. Like, how do you think people should think about money? How do you think about those kinds of things? Like, because like I said, I wasn't rich when I did this. This was just, oh, I'm young and I don't have kids yet. Whatever, I have time.
Well, so let's think about it, right? Like what are the components of money, right? Like what is money? Right. So like money is a store of value, right? It's like something that you can like hold, and it like, you can invest it, but in theory, it keeps its value. Crypto people would disagree with me in that, but money is like a store of value, right? Money is a means of transaction, right? You can exchange goods and services with it. All right. That's like on the economic sense. But then you can go a step further. It's like, so money is a form of safety, right? Again, like you think of like bottom of Maslow's hierarchy, rent, shelter, things like that. Money is a source of pleasure, right? You can like go to Disneyland or go to a Raiders game. I know you watch football. Rams game. I live in LA, and I said the Raiders. You could go to a Rams game, right? So it's a form of pleasure. Money is a form of status, right? Like we know who has a lot of money in our Twitter circles, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we can pretend like it doesn't matter, but it matters to a lot of people, both the status owner and the status desire. Money can create new opportunities for you. And so it's like money can buy you time, right? You could pay a cook or you can pay a house cleaner and then you can get time back. But money doesn't also prevent you from the ultimate loss of time, which is death, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's all these like very complicated questions. And so you can almost like go through and you're like, okay, you might be someone who is not maybe you're in your 40s and you have like a little nest egg. Like you're not worried about like being unsafe, like not being able to pay your rent, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have an emergency fund and all that, so that's off the table. And you don't really care about status. A lot of people say they don't care, and they do. But let's say you don't care about status,
Mm-hmm.
and so those things are off the table. Like you use your money do you buy back some more free time? Let's say you have enough money to get a cleaner, a driver, whatever, childcare. You have a little bit leftover money. Like, what else is it for, right? You actually can't buy back more time, right? Like you can't pay someone to work out for you. You can't pay someone to watch Encanto for you, right? Like at some point, you can't keep buying back time. So then what? Like, is it for some future date? Okay, but what, your kid's college, like things like that? Sure. But you start to see that, like, and then you get to this ultimate question. I actually just asked it on a panel on the little chat that I gave, is like, well, when you pass, like how much, there's a whole movement called die with zero. Because like, what would be the point of dying with money? Like you kind of like didn't set your levers right, right? And so I say that more just because it's just simple question. What's the point of money? Is actually like there's so many components to it. And I actually don't think people sit and think through the different components. They're just like more money equals good. And that's actually that's actually false, right? Biggie said more money, more problems. But it's just false because we know that the value of money plateaus over time, like what it can bring you for happiness. So just an invitation to people to take something that simple, like what is money, and like what am I going to use it for? Am I buying back time? Am I opening doors for other people? Am I spending it on pleasure? Am I investing it for a future date? Like what will I do on that future date with that money? Like these are like complicated questions and
Yeah.
fun ones.
Yeah, totally. I think that's also related to something else, which you and I think we have a strong opinion on. I think we share is home buying,
Mm-hmm.
right? I think a lot of people buy houses because they're like, oh, you're supposed to, like, it's the best
Mm-hmm.
investment. Like, that's what you do when you're a grown up.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what people don't do is I think people underestimate how emotional buying a
Mm-hmm.
home actually is. I think people
Oh yeah.
say, I am making the soundest financial decision
Mm-hmm.
ever. But in actuality, it's I'm not saying it's bad to buy a house. I mean, you do you.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, like, it's a lot more emotional than I think people want to admit. Because what are you
Yes.
actually buying? So you're buying a place to live, but
Mm-hmm.
you're also buying a sense of security,
Sense of security, a
sense of
status.
safety, a status. Yeah, like
Status.
now we're homeowners. Ooh,
Yeah, totally.
yeah.
Totally. Renters are second, like you have to defend why you're a renter.
Yeah.
You don't have to defend why you're a homeowner, where I actually
Yeah.
think it should be the other way around. And I have
Yes.
nothing against home ownership, but I so actually this is a very, very good segue. You're such a good host. Smooth like butter. But so you buy a home, right? Or you decide to rent. Like, first of all, there's a very strong consideration. It's like when you buy a home, down payments are usually significant cash portions of your net worth, right? So there's this huge one-time payment your when you drain your cash savings. I know Nesreen's saying that there's an audio
Hmm.
distortion.
I don't hear it yet.
Let's
Hopefully,
see.
hopefully the non-live version of this will
Okay.
like restore the audio.
Got
But
it. Marion, curious if you see if you're hearing the audio distortion as well.
yeah.
So okay, so you have to plunk up like a lifetime's worth of savings.
Right. Which,
So
if
you
you're
like,
in California, by the way, a home can easily cost 800, 900,000
oh
dollars,
yeah,
$1 million, and
First-
you might be plunking down like 90K,
yeah, or yeah,
100K,
200K.
200K.
So
Assuming you're doing what, a 20% down
yeah,
payment. That's a lot of money.
so there's the down payment. Well, but
Yeah,
that's like an obvious one.
right.
But I think the ones that people don't consider, which is there's this thing on Reddit that it's like every time someone comes to your house to fix something, it's $1,000, right? Broken fridge, broken pilot lights, like blah blah blah. It's like just so there's this ongoing cost, right? You're actually also subject to the whims of policy. So like when they
Mm.
changed the mortgage tax deduction law, um, owning a home became less financially attractive from a tax perspective.
Huh.
But the biggest one, let's look at COVID, right? Let's say you owned a home in New York City and you're in the dark days of COVID and you're like, I want out. Guess what? There's no liquidity. You could walk on your rent. The most you would lose is like a ding to your credit score and maybe your down payment, like your 1 month. But
Mm.
you walk on your house, you're like, you might like bankrupt yourself. And I think that's, to me, and again, this is where it's not, there's no right or wrong answer, but I value the option to change, right? If RadReads goes gangbusters, I might move closer to the beach. If RadReads starts to stall or like I need more liquidity, I might leave California, right? And I can make those decisions with like 6 months notice with no bearing. So for me as an entrepreneur who values dynamism, who values change, who also values like tweaking, like upgrading, slight upgrade, slight downgrade,
Mhm.
um, I will gladly pay more cash and not build that equity because I value the ability to change. And I think a lot of homeowners discount this. They're like, "Oh, we want to live here forever," and then like they move the house next door to them like watches action movies till like 2 a.m, and you're like, "Oh, I guess we're here for 30 years, right?" Like,
Right. Or they're
there's
like, "Oh, I can just sell it." And I know
exactly,
it can be easy, but it's like, you don't just, like,
yeah, six
flip on a
percent, right?
switch.
You
Yeah.
took that $900,000 home, 6% is $54,000 to sell your home, right? It's not like selling a stock. So again, if you are clear on your motivation, so I'm very clear that um, I value the ability to change, and I'm willing to pay more. That's like to use financial terms, I own an option. I'm willing to pay slightly more. Again, in the fact of rent, I'm not building equity
Mhm,
for that option. I also value peace of mind. I don't want to fix anything. If something breaks, I want to call a number and I want it fixed the next day.
mhm,
I'm willing to pay more for that through the form of a renter or through like foregoing the equity that I would build as a homeowner. And by the way,
yeah,
that example, the 200,000 that we would take to put in as a down payment, we can invest that. So it's not like we can invest that in the stock market, we can invest that in crypto, like we can invest it. So it's not like it's like not growing either. It might not be growing as fast as a home grows, but that's another consideration.
yeah. I mean, I feel very similarly. Like, I like the optionality, and I like investing my money in other things, like
Hmm.
stocks, like
Hmm.
companies that I'm passionate about or care about,
Mm.
crypto, right? Or even just, index funds, right?
Yep.
Because you can make a lot of money there.
I only buy index funds
Yeah,
since I was 17. So I've been
yeah,
buying the same index fund for 25 years.
that's amazing.
It's just so boring.
Yeah.
But again, I used to work on Wall Street. I find investing boring. So I'm not going to spend any time on it.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that like I'll buy the same index fund for 25 years. Dollar, like same amount every month. Don't even like pay attention to it.
Yeah. Do you wanna say which, or can
Oh
you say
yeah,
which
yeah,
index
of
fund?
course. It's VTSAX, which is basically
Oh,
the total stock market, and it's like it's not even like it's not even anything fancy. It's like the
yeah.
most generic fund out there, and you buy a monthly amount of that for 25 years, and you don't. I've never sold.
Yeah. I think
Uh,
my Roth IRA is in that one.
yeah, probably
Yeah.
it is like the most. It's like the second most vanilla after the S&P 500.
Yeah. So I buy into VFIFX.
Okay, which is the
Yeah.
S&P 500.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
Yeah. See,
And if you
boring.
look at the returns of those two funds over like a 20-year period, they're probably like within like 0.5% of each other. They're basically the same thing.
Mhm.
As you expand, like, in like 1-year periods, they might have more divergence, but over like 20 years, they're probably almost identical.
Hmm. So we should probably move on.
We're not going to keep talking about our stock portfolios.
Maybe for a
That
part 2,
wasn't the
actually,
plan.
in a couple of months. We should
Yeah.
do that. So I have a game for us planned. It
Okay.
is 10K Jeopardy.
All
So
right.
this is so we should probably explain first what is a difference. So you have something called 10K work or $10,000 work. And there's a difference between that and $10 work and $100 work.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell our viewers what 10K work
Yes.
is?
Yes. So it's a very simple matrix. I'm going to private message you the piece
Uh-huh.
so that people can read it. So it's a very simple matrix. Think like the Eisenhower matrix, where on one axis there's leverage, so like low leverage and high leverage, and on the other axis there's skill, like low skill, high skill. So $10 work is low skill, low leverage, and I could say if you could do it hungover, it's $10 work. Inbox zero, organizing your Kindle highlights, color coding your calendar, picking the right Notion emojis, like all of that. That's $10 work. $100 work is low skill, high leverage. So it could be like learning GTD. Like it's a very important skill, but there's a limit to what that can do in your life, right? You could be the best GTD person in the world, but not have an idea or a job. Like there's a limit to how much you can do with that besides become a GTD coach, right? And then I always say, it's like, do you think like Elon Musk is like, oh, like I didn't review my next action, right? Like, no, it's like there's a limit to a product, to a system. It's useful and it's better than like color coding, your Notion emojis, but there's a limit. $1,000 work is basically what you get paid to do. Right. And I want to clarify for people hearing this for the first time, different currencies, different stages of life, that really think of it as like a multiplier. So if like checking your email is like 10, $1,000 work is something that's 100 times more impactful, right? So you're a content strategist and creator and podcast host. Like those are like, that's the thing you get paid to do. I'm a writer, I'm a teacher. Like the thing about $1,000 work is it's 1-to-1, right? And so, like if I am like researching a stock, like if I go on vacation, that stock won't research itself. So there's no leverage in it, right? Like you stop, the activity stops. But what if you taught your 5 analysts your investment process? They might not be as good at it, but there's 5 of them. That's 5 times, let's say they're, each 0.6 the skill level of you, the boss. That's still 3 of you, right? I know the math doesn't work that simply, but you get what I mean. If you train someone to do something that you're skilled at, then you can actually go on vacation and they can do the work.
Yep. High
and so
leverage.
that's the high leverage, high skill, because you taught them something difficult. So those are the different quadrants. And so you can think about that in work terms, obviously, right? Like the way like a CEO is not deciding whether their company should use Notion or Google Docs, right?
Right.
They're capable of doing it, but they wouldn't do it. The CEO might be, forming a trade association to lobby for some kind of price protection or something like that. Conversely, if you're a college graduate, you're hired to do $10 work, right? You're hired to like line up the columns in Excel and to like make sure that the branding looks consistent on the Google slides and to fix the alignment and all that stuff. But that you're also not only meant to do that, right? You could set up some procedure manuals, and that would be like $100 work. You could actually like take a public speaking course to like become a better presenter. Like that would be $1,000 work. You could also look for a mentor, right? Imagine like finding a mentor 20 years older than you that's willing to be like, hey, think about this, do this, read this book, don't do this, invest in the S&P 500, when you're 21. That would be a high leverage action, right? Because it's like the leverage of that person's experience to the college kid. So you can look at this across anything. You can look at it across fitness, across parenting, across, business planning, across content marketing, right?
Mhm.
Another good example would be email marketing, right? Inside an email, let's say you're an email marketer, you've got to say that some part of the 10K work is picking the right headline, right? If you could have the most beautiful email ever, but if no one opens it, so there's a lot of leverage. If you're gonna spend 2 hours writing an email, you probably shouldn't spend 1 minute on the subject line. You maybe should spend like 30. And if you're better, you have like A/B tests, you have research tables, which are all like kind of part of that larger process, which might just seem like, oh, it's just sending an email. We're like, no. We have headline formulas. The person whose idea was to create the headline formulas, that was 10K work. And that's something we do, right? We have headline formulas and different like packagings and framings, like for different types of content.
Yeah.
That was 10K work. That's like, I can do all this intuitively. That's my 1K work. But if I put it out there so others can do it, that becomes my 10K work and that becomes their 1K work, right?
Yeah. So let's try this game.
Okay.
So this will help us kind of extrapolate the 10K work or mentality towards things that might not actually be day job work.
Yeah.
So
I
have two prompts here because I think you have to go soon.
Okay.
All right. First one. I want to get fit.
Okay. I want to get fit, right? All right. So, well, let's ask, what do you think's the $10 work, right? Low skill, low leverage.
Ooh, the $10 work of getting fit is low skill, low leverage. I don't know, committing to only eating salads for lunch.
I would actually, yeah.
I don't know. Is that?
I would say that's probably that. I would say that's probably that could be $10 work, but there's probably something even lower than that, which would be like reading a blog.
Oh, okay, yeah,
fit,
okay,
or buying sneakers.
Yes, okay.
Right.
Mhm.
So then
the salads is maybe $100
the
work.
salad might be $100 work because it's definitely incrementally more powerful
Mhm.
than buying the sneakers.
Yeah.
But there's like, you can't just, like a good question of $100 work is like, if I just did that, would I achieve the goal? And that you might actually again, depending on starting point. So then you get to $1,000 work, which is like, okay, committing to 25 minutes of exercise every day.
Mhm.
Right. And maybe like only missing, 2 days, 5 out of 7 days. Right. Then the 10K work of getting fit is why. It's usually a question. Like, why is it important to be fit? And so that could lead to some juicy existential questions, right? Because you could say a very obvious one, which is there's no shame in it, would be vanity.
Mhm.
Like, I care about how I look. But as you get older, you start to care less about that. And it could be like, I want to have energy with my toddlers.
Yeah. Or it's I want to be around for my grandchildren and I want to be able to play with them.
So here's an interesting thing. If it's longevity, right? So you're like, I want to get fit. And the first thing you did is like, you bought a new like Lululemon outfit, right? I'd buy like a new CrossFit outfit or something like that. But then you're like, I actually want to be around for my grandkids. Then it's like, there might actually be things way more important than getting fit for that. For example, like making sure that you see your physician every year, right? Some people skip that, especially men. Or it could be cutting out alcohol. It could be sleeping more, right? So just the fact that you ask that question recenters you. And so you could like, I want to be fit. I'm reading fitness blogs. I'm buying these shoes. I'm eating salads, but I actually want it so I could be around for my grandkids. Like there could be it reframes the entire question, which is, well, what should I do so that I'm around for my grandkids more? And fitness might be just one component of that.
Right. But it might
Or
not
not
mean
even
like it might not mean like don't be an ultra marathoner maybe, like where you're
exactly.
wearing out your joints. Like, yeah.
Exactly. And it's just like the money question where, you could kind of, you're just like, well, fitness, it's like vanity, it's longevity, it's, it's energy. Sure, but maybe it's not. Maybe longevity trumps over vanity, which would actually say like you might actually want to go on like power walks instead of doing CrossFit, right? Because
Mhm.
a power walk, CrossFit probably not helping your longevity. It's probably hurting your longevity
Right. It's not great on your
on
joints,
on a lot of
on a
things.
lot of things.
And so you could quickly see, but if you just coalesce them together, our reptilian brain would be like fit, sneakers, blog, CrossFit, go.
Yeah.
And you could do
Run
that.
more all the time.
I mean, I did CrossFit for 5 years. Like I did that, right? Like, but if you just step back, you could realize that you might have like wasted a lot of cycles on the wrong thing, right? I think a lot of 10K work is like shutting a door that needs to be shut, running faster into a door that is open either for a brief moment or where you want to double down on. And oftentimes it just starts with questions, which it
Yeah.
actually brings us full circle because we were talking about money. And what was the first thing that I asked? What's the point of money? Right. And we're talking about drinking. And we're like, why do I feel the need to drink every Thursday, Friday, Saturday? It becomes a product. Right. So it's like it always starts with a question.
Yeah.
And so a lot of 10K work is asking good questions on a consistent basis.
Yeah. I love this. Do you have time for one more or do you have to
Yeah.
go?
One more.
Okay, one
Let's do
more.
it.
Okay, the other one we have is be a good parent.
Ooh, be a good parent. So,
Yeah. So the $10 version
mhm.
is following an Instagram account that has parenting tips.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
$10 work.
Mhm.
We're drinking to that one.
Exactly. What's $100 version?
Um, reading a potty training book and then enacting the thing
Oh, that's good.
right away.
That's good.
I
That's
don't know.
good.
Yeah. Yeah.
One that came to mind for me was like there are these like code programming apps. So
Mm,
like that could be maybe like $1,000 work, but again, it like the thing about $100 work is very seductive. Like it kind of tricks you into thinking you're doing the thing, right? Are you
yeah.
really being a good parent if you give an iPad to a kid with a programming app? You're being better than the parent that gives them the iPad with YouTube on it,
Yeah.
but you're still the parent that gave the kid the iPad, right?
Yeah.
And that's the admission. That's where $100 work can like really trick you. It's kind of the land of like productivity, basically. It's like, sure, you're productive, but like, what's the point of a text expander if you're a business, you have a bad business idea, right? Like, it doesn't
Yeah.
effing matter. $1,000 work, reading with your kid on a regular basis, right? One-to-one. There's no leverage there.
Mhm. And you can't delegate
You
that
can't delegate that. I mean, you
unless
could
you're
get
to your
like a
partner,
reading
but
tutor, but like
yeah.
that might be $100.
Yeah.
What's 10K work of being a good parent? What's a good question?
Teaching them to read and having them read to you.
Yeah, maybe.
Could be one,
I
depending on how
think
old the kid is.
I tend to think that the 10K questions are usually like the why questions.
Mm,
And so it could be like, why is it, why is it, here's a good one. Why is it important that my kid excel in school? Right? Because that's a kind of an obvious statement.
yeah. We all want our kids to do well in school, of course,
Exactly.
but why?
But why?
Yeah.
That is a 10K question because you could quickly say it was like, well, education opens doors for opportunity.
Mhm,
Okay, it's legit. Why is it important for our kids to have opportunity? Well, if they have opportunities, they have more of a chance of being happy. Starts to break down a little bit there, right?
yeah.
Like you could look like I went to Yale. There's a lot of highly educated kids there with a lot of opportunity. A lot of them are very unhappy. They were unhappy going in and they're unhappy 20, 21 years later. Going to Yale does not guarantee happiness. And
Mhm,
you could take it a step further. Oftentimes it is a happiness blocker because of the expectations that come with going to Yale. You can't be an artist. You went to Yale. You have to be an X.
Right.
I paid,
You can't make a stupid mistake. You went to
Yeah,
Yale. You're smart.
exactly. So I think the 10K question, I think this will be a good way, is we all want our kids to be happy. This is not a why question, but it's a big question. We all want our kids to be happy. But what does it truly mean for our kids to be happy? That is a hard question. You know why it's very hard? Because embedded in that question is a deeper question or a more pressing question, which is what makes me happy? Which I actually don't know the answer to for myself. Philosophers have been wrestling with this question since the beginning of time.
Right. What is happiness anyway?
Exactly, is happy. And I think the thing about asking that question with regards to your kids is like you can kind of like see the different paths that their lives can unfold. You could see them going to a great school, you could see them struggling academically, you could see them having a dead-end job, you could see them working for a nonprofit, you could see them being an artist. Like you can't actually see that for yourself. You're like the tracks, a lot of people, the tracks feel a little too hardened. But with them, you can actually see the entire map of possibility. And you may believe, maybe falsely or accurately, that you actually have more agency in that map of possibility than is true. But you look at that map of possibility, what does it mean? Would you want your kids to have crappy grades but smile all the time?
Right.
Would you want your kids to go to Yale, make millions of dollars, have anything they could ever want to buy ever, and be miserable?
Right. And work 80 hours a week.
Exactly.
I don't know.
And again, there's no right or wrong answer.
Right. The other thing too, though, is when you want your kids to be happy, there's also there's the inherent bias because all you can go off of is your own definition.
Exactly.
What if happiness is different to your child when they grow up?
That is like that's a good place to end because that's a 100K question that you just asked.
This was so much fun, Khe.
Oh, thank you. This was my pleasure. My drink's done.
Also, I love that it's this was so much fun, and yet we walked through like a bunch of existential crises. We're like, oh, so fun.
Exactly. But that's the thing. Once you go through these existential, there's like a levity to it, and like you feel lighter. And yeah, and it's special.
Yeah, it is.
We don't get that enough as adults.
We don't. Where can the people find you, Khe?
Oh, right. Thank you. So radreads.co, sign up to the newsletter. That's kind of the main hub for everything. If you put it in the show notes, because I have a long Twitter handle, but if you Google KHE Twitter, you'll find my Twitter account. And that's my main social channel. So those are the two. Working on YouTube though, eventually. So
working on YouTube.
Famous last words.
It's really hard. It's a lot of work. Thank you so much for being here. This was so much fun. I got to have you back on. We have to just have more crises together.
More crises and more margaritas, right? That works really well together.
I still have a couple sips, but
same here. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. Thank you again.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.